The rich king and the wise beggar. In the heart of a prosperous kingdom lived a king whose wealth knew no bounds. His palaces sparkled with gold and gemstones. His treasury overflowed, and yet peace eluded him. Despite possessing every luxury one could imagine, King Viren was restless. He couldn't sleep at night. His heart felt hollow, and his mind was forever clouded with worry about losing what he had. One day, an old tale reached the king's ears. True happiness can be found in the wisdom of a beggar who roams the kingdom. He owns nothing but smiles at everything. People say he holds the secret to a life free of fear. This intrigued King Viren. How could a man with nothing live without fear? While he, the ruler of wealth and power, trembled at every shadow. The king ordered his soldiers to find this beggar and bring him to the palace. But the beggar was elusive. For days, the soldiers searched in the markets, by the rivers, near temples, but he was always one step ahead, slipping away like the wind. The suspense built. Was this beggar even real, or just a myth? Finally, after weeks of searching, a palace guard returned breathless. Your Majesty, I have seen him. He sits beneath the banyan tree at the edge of the forest. But he says he will only come to the palace if the king himself comes to him. The king was startled. No one had ever summoned him before, but his curiosity outweighed his pride. The next morning, he disguised himself in plain clothes and rode to the edge of the forest. Under the ancient banyan tree sat a frail old man, clothed in rags, his face serene, his eyes closed in meditation. Birds chirped around him, and squirrels played by his side. The king cleared his throat. The old man slowly opened his eyes and smiled, as if he had been expecting him all along. Are you the wise beggar everyone talks about? The king asked. I am but a traveler on the same path as you, the beggar replied gently. You own nothing, the king said, frustration creeping into his voice, and yet you live without fear. Teach me this secret. The beggar chuckled softly. The secret is simple, but to understand it, you must give me something first. The king frowned. What could you possibly want? Gold? Jewels? My kingdom? The beggar shook his head. No, your majesty. I ask for something harder. Your worries. The king laughed bitterly. If I could give them away, I would have done so long ago. The beggar's eyes twinkled. Then come with me. He stood and began walking into the forest. The king hesitated, but followed. The path grew darker and narrower. Soon, they reached a small clearing where a humble hut stood. The beggar motioned the king inside. On a wooden table lay a single scroll. The beggar spoke, Open it. The king unrolled the scroll. It was blank. Confused, he turned to the beggar. What is this? This scroll, the beggar said softly, is your life story, yet to be written. Every worry you carry is a sentence you are writing before the moment has happened. You fear what might be, not what is. If you continue writing worries, your story will be filled with fear. But if you write with trust, your story will be filled with peace. The king sat in silence, absorbing the wisdom. But how do I stop worrying? He asked finally. The beggar smiled. Release control. Embrace uncertainty. Everything you think you own, your wealth, your power, is borrowed. One day, you will leave it behind. The fear comes from clinging too tightly. Learn to hold it gently. Still doubtful, the king asked, How do you live without fear and poverty? The beggar's eyes sparkled. I am not poor. I own the wind that brushes my face, the warmth of the sun, the laughter of children passing by. These are riches no one can steal. Suddenly, A loud rustle came from the forest. The king turned sharply. A group of bandits emerged, swords drawn. "Give us your gold," they shouted. The king froze in fear, but the beggar simply smiled and held out his empty hands. The bandits searched the hut, found nothing, cursed, and ran away. The beggar looked at the king. "You see? Nothing to lose, nothing to fear." The king realized then that his fear stemmed from his attachment. The beggar had no attachments, and thus no fear. The king spent the night in that hut, unable to sleep, pondering deeply. At dawn, the beggar gave him one final piece of advice. "Return to your palace, your majesty. But remember this: wealth is a shadow. Peace is the substance. Chase the shadow, and you'll always feel empty. Embrace the substance, and the shadow will follow." The king returned home with a lighter heart. He still ruled his kingdom, but something within him had changed. He shared his wealth generously, spent time with his people, and slowly, the sleepless nights ceased. He no longer feared losing what he had, because he understood he never truly owned anything.
And somewhere, beneath that ancient banyan tree, the wise beggar smiled, knowing his secret had reached yet another restless soul. Moral of the story: true wealth is not in possessions, but in peace of mind. Attachments breed fear. Letting go brings freedom.